We'll call the Board of Public Works meeting of Monday, February 17th to order. Number 2, approval of the minutes from February 3rd. Motion by Jockek, second by Fisher. Comments, questions, corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Citizens' comments. I just wanted to mention that we lost an employee, a long-term employee. Vic Myers passed away Friday. He worked here for many years, retired in 1994. So, was an avid Packer fan, Badgers. Did you hear this, Steve?
I did pick up on that, Tom.
All right. But very nice man. He'll be missed. Number 4, approval of scoreboard purchases for the Parks and Recreation Department, presented by Ben Steinbach, Parks and Recreation Superintendent. Ben.
Good evening. In your packet, there's a memo I put together for the purchases of scoreboards. 2 of the scoreboards are at Greasy Park and 2 are at S.J. Miller Park. In the past few years, we've been having more and more issues with our aging scoreboards. Weinferner scoreboard hasn't worked for about 2 years, and Figgy is the same age and model. We've had a few issues there, but we've been able to limp it through. And then GP Olson West and Reese Fields. With West, we've got several bulbs and sockets that aren't working. And Reese, the last 2 years, has been kind of acting up where we get it to work and then it doesn't work. All these models are outdated and we can't get parts anymore. So we put it in our CIP planning to start replacing them. We went out and got quotes from 4 different scoreboard companies. Nevco came in low at $33,535. And then one other thing is all these scoreboards will be replaced with LED lighting scoreboards. The recommendation is to accept the quotation from Nevco for 4 replacement scoreboards at Figgy, Weinferner, GP Olson West, and Reese Athletic Fields for a total of $33,535.
Motion by Mr. Fire. Second, did I see your hand, Mr. Bartender? Wait, okay, Mike, go ahead.
I don't have anything against this project, but where does the discount come in? I see Nevco gave you $3,600.
They just put that on their quote. I don't know if it's per board or how they figure it, but they weren't low, and then with their discount, they were. They're all very competitive, very close, I should say. So, I don't know why they put a discount on there or labeled it discount, but that's what they did.
Mr. Bargander.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question, all these companies, are their scoreboards comparable to one another, or are they used? Is there one company that stands out better than the other for reliability?
We did our research, and they're all reliable companies. The ones that we do have now are all American, and the ones that the high school just put in are OES. But all 4 of them are recognizable in our industry.
Thank you.
Mr. Jockett.
The current boards, they must be about 20 years old.
They're all original that I know. We did replace Hackman's scoreboard maybe 5 years ago, so that's a newer board. And at about that same time, we replaced the 2 at the fairgrounds. So those are relatively new as well. The next one that we'd probably look at redoing would be GP Olson East, but it is a couple of years older and it is LED. That's why we're not recommending replacing that one at this time. The one on West is an old socket one where you screw in individual bulbs. But that one's a little bit newer. It's working and we're not having current issues with it.
And where is Nevco?
That's out of Illinois.
We'll accept that. And one other thing, does this include installation?
No, I'm estimating about $1,500 for removal and installation. So about $6,000 altogether.
And who does that?
I got a quote from Merkel for the installation, but any electrician can. It's basically just taking it down and putting up. I know Merkel's got the tools that can do it. They replaced the ones at Mac for us.
All right. And this was budgeted for this year?
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Number 5, approval of proposal for engineering services for Mannville Lift Station improvements. Presented by Sam Warp, wastewater superintendent. Sam?
Thanks, Tom. The lift station at Mannville is actually along Highway 13. If you're going towards Spencer, the very last stoplight that's out there. It's a older can station. We put in the CIP, we started several years ago, the process to replace this. This year we just had for the engineering for the station, and then next year would actually be the station replacement. That station was put in 1979, along when the force main was put in along Highway 13. We are able to keep it going. We have more electronic problems all the time, and they just kind of piece together. You can't buy any new parts for it, so it's at the end of its useful life. So what we do is we put together an RFP. We just sent it to the 3 engineering firms that we do the most business with, Strand, Town and Country, and MSA. And then we sat down, it was Mark Kivala, the assistant superintendent, myself and Dan, and we went through the RFPs. It was actually, compared to some projects, this is a pretty confined, a little more basic project. And we first went through and reviewed them without looking at the cost, just looking at the quality of what we were getting in return. And Strand wrote the best proposal. They by far included the most. They hit everything in the RFP that we asked for. And they went a little bit farther to putting in some proposed layouts. They've got a very detailed timeline on how they were going to do it, even put in some extra time in case the DNR held up some of the applications. They had the most senior staff working on it. The engineer that'd be doing most of the work actually has 10 years of experience and 9 years with working with the city of Marshfield. And then their senior staff that was going to review it actually has 40 years of lift station experience. So we were impressed with that. MSA wrote a very good proposal. They included everything that we asked for in the RFP. They didn't go as far as Strand did, but they definitely wrote a good proposal. We were quite disappointed with Town and Country's. They didn't include everything we asked for, didn't include anything with the DNR or with the permits. We looked at the amount of hours, and Town and Country had the least number of hours into the project. That's why their cost was less. I think all 3 firms could probably do the job just fine. We tried to judge everybody on what proposal they're putting out. And when it came through, Town and Country was the lowest bid, but we were the least happy with that. And we felt Strand brought the most to the table, most experienced, best layout, by far the best proposal. And just kind of, we sat around and we looked and we thought, there are times you get what you pay for in this world. And we just thought that Strand offered the best. So staff recommends accepting the proposal from Strand Associates for the engineering services for the lift station, Mannville Lift Station, in an amount not to exceed $35,900, and authorize staff to execute a contract.
Did I have a motion, please? Mr. Bargender, second by Mr. Jockett. Question? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Number 6, award bid for fire station alerting system replacement project. Presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. I've been working with Pete Fletty at the fire department on a little project they have there to replace their alerting system. This is an internal system that alerts staff in the building when they have a call from dispatch. So it's a pretty important system within the station. It was installed new with the fire station construction back in 2010. Okay, 2010. But the system is no longer supported and has become obsolete. They don't have any service for it. If they were to have a problem with it, be in a bit of a bind. So 2020 budget does include $80,000 to replace this system. Earlier in the year, or maybe it was late last year, the fire department went through vendor selection and chose a vendor by the name of Automated Protection Systems, APS, designed the new system. They provide all the engineering, the drawing specifications, and the system components, but the owner must then arrange for installation. And this would typically be installed by a electrician. So we put together a little bid package then to solicit bids for this from local electric contractors. We sent it out to 7 local contractors, inviting them all to attend a pre-bid meeting. 3 contractors showed up. In the end, only 1 bid was received, and I think that's a sign of our times here when some of these trades have a hard time with all the projects that are out there taking on more work, even though this is a small project. The loan bid did come from a Merkle company here in town in the amount of $14,980. The initial estimates we had from the vendor, APS, suggested that it could be in the $20,000 range. So we were happy with the number, even though it was just 1 bid. So between the APS agreement on the components and design and the installation bid, the total project cost is now estimated at just under $66,000. Well below the budgeted amount, we feel pretty good about. So the recommendation is to approve the low bid of Merkle Company for the installation of the fire station alerting system in the amount of $14,900. Authorize execution of that contract. Pete is here if you had any questions about the project itself. He'd be happy to answer those, I'm sure.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Jockett. Question. Mr. Bargan.
I do have a question for the deputy chief. You mentioned that the first system was installed when the fire station was new in 2010, and it has lasted approximately 10 years. What is the life expectancy of the new APS system?
Make contact with APS because I was just as surprised as I think everybody here that this system should have lasted more than 10 years. According to APS, they're expecting a couple of decades as long as we keep up with their yearly maintenance plan, which is $750 per year. What happened was we weren't under a maintenance plan for the old system, which was very surprising to me when I got in this position. So it hadn't been, it's a computer is what it is. So it wasn't getting firmware updates and software updates and everything else. So it became antiquated and out of date, and pretty soon replacement parts weren't available.
So the original system, the company never contacted the fire department and said, hey, you're not doing your updates. We recommend these updates to keep the system up and running.
Sure. So when I got in this position, I had a component failure. I'll just go into this a little bit with you. Went to go and call the systems manufacturer to replace this part because part of our station went dark. Hey, we had no alerting in parts of the building. Tried to get a hold of them via email, tried to call, tried everything else. Wasn't getting return phone calls or anything. Eventually finally got in contact with the Phoenix system. And basically, from what I understand is they tried for about 5 years to get us to go with the firmware updates, and we declined.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, and I hope this is a sign of warmer weather. Award bid for 2020 mowing and weed trimming contract for the street division. Presented by Chris Hawley, interim street superintendent. Chris.
Good evening, everybody. The current contract for mowing the Veterans Parkway corridor has expired. We advertised for bids at the end of January, and we had 2 companies take out packets for it. After the packets were taken out, we opened up bids on Monday, February 10th, and we got 1 bid. We were a little bit concerned about the 1 bid, but after opening it and analyzing it, as you can see, The prices from the 2016 to 2018 contract are virtually the same, if not a little bit more if you account for the trimming. But the contract was for 2016 to 2018, and we extended Beaver Creek out 1 year. And Beaver Creek came in with a bid that I thought was pretty favorable. So with that, we recommend approving the bid from Beaver Creek Nursery and Landscaping for mowing and trimming in the Veterans Parkway corridor zones 1, 2, 3, and the Mill Creek Business Park.
Motion? Mr. Fisher, and a second by Mr. Fire. Question? Mr. Bargender.
I'm just full of questions tonight, ain't I? Anyway, looking at all these different maps, this afternoon I was studying them for quite some time. And I noticed that there's mowing being done on South Mallard. That's from Yellowstone past the defunct frac sand plant. And then there's mowing on the terrace on East Yellowstone going east towards Hewitt. I guess I just wonder why we're mowing those areas, especially on Mallard where there is no businesses or anything going on there. I don't know if Tom or Dan or Chris.
It's just a terrace issue for beautification back there. If we just let it go up in the weeds, it would be one of the areas that we like to take a swath paths there. And then plus out by the Yellowstone Industrial Park, we have the bike path at the Hewitt area connector trail. That's all mowed along with around the pond there. So,
Mr. Turchi.
Dan.
Oh, okay. Dan?
I was just going to add that, we have an ordinance about adjacent property owner maintaining the terrace area in the right of way, and mowing is considered part of that maintenance. And so if we don't do our own, then it's hard to enforce others doing it. So, today there isn't anybody operating in those things, but we expect things to be happening on that site, and that's now owned by Matthew. And we want our city property to be looked. So that's why we.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Okay, now we got Tom up here. Let's see. Pre-qualification of contractors for 2020 construction project. That's also a sign of warm weather, hopefully.
Yeah.
Presented by Tom Turchi, city engineer. Tom.
All right. Thank you, Tom. We had 6 contractors ask for pre-qualification at this time. A1 Excavating, out of Bloomer for general construction, and then Granite Liner LLC for sanitary sewer lining, Terra Engineering and Construction Corp for sanitary sewer lining, HydroClean LLC for sewer lining, In Situ Form Technologies for sewer lining, and VisuSewer for sewer lining. So I'd recommend that we approve the above contractors for pre-qualification for 2020 city construction.
Motion by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. Jockett. Question. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 9, recommended items for future agendas. Mr. Jockett first.
It's not a future agenda, but it's talking about mowing. We just acquired more property on Yellowstone, and was that going to be part of the mowing contract, or is that something we're doing internally, or do we not know yet?
Well, we're required to care for it, which means we're required to at least, I would think, meet the same standard we would for other vacant industrial land. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but we'll be responsible for all the maintenance of that property now going forward. I would assume that includes cutting weeds and high grass. Yeah.
Will we handle that just on it's not part of this packet that we just approved. So we're going to have to take care of that on an individual basis, or?
Yeah. We have a variety of other city-owned parcels and pieces that we take care of with city staff and seasonal folks. So if we continue owning this for foreseeable future, then we would take care of it with city staff.
Mr. Bargender.
Yeah, I'd like to have some discussion in the next few, whatever meeting before spring, I guess. that we talk about the plan for crack filling of the streets here in Marshfield. Some of these streets didn't get done last year. They're getting worse. I see some of the cracks are 6 inches wide. I just feel that really needs to be addressed this year. I understand last year we had a lot of weather problems, but the streets aren't getting any better. So if we could have a discussion on that and a plan, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, I see him jotting that down, so we'll bring that to a meeting. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn by Mr. Jockek, second by Mr. Bargander. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.